Most of the cast crashed and burned this season, with a few exceptions. Welcome to Joe Island. Today we're breaking down the Survivor 49 player rankings. Let's get into it. So we have 5 tiers. We have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and F tier. This tier is talking about people who transcend the season. When you talk about Survivor 49 years from now, these are the names that come up first, right? So for the first person I think I'm going to put in this tier, I'm going to put Savannah. She was the winner of Survivor 49. She had a great position throughout the pre-merge. She won 4 individual immunity challenges, right? Tying the record. She won them at clutch times when they could have been voted out. This includes the Final 10, Final 9, Final 6, and Final 5. They also won the Final 4 Fire-Making Challenge, beating out Rizo. And she received 5 votes to win in the Final Tribal Council. Her only real drawback was her poor social game outside of her alliance. I think she deserves a spot in Survivor 50, so it'll be very interesting to see how her and Rizo play in the upcoming season. Next up, we got Rizo.
It's a road on the legend. RIZGOD, RIZGOD, and I might not be the king of the water, but I am a god in this game.
He placed 4th on the season. He had a great position throughout the pre-merge, always in the majority. He found an idol on episode 4. He was able to wield it defensively throughout the entire game. He always threatened to play it, but he never actually followed through, and this made players hesitant to vote for him. He successfully fooled everyone as well into believing his idol expired at the Final 6, even though he was able to play it at the Final 5. He also notably orchestrated several blindsides, including MC, Alex, and Sophie, which to be fair he was. And for Sophie, he also made her a common enemy by pointing out how big of a threat she was to win the game, which is true since she had 2 immunity wins at the time, and she was on the right side of the votes throughout the post-merge. His only drawback was that he was weak in challenges, but I don't hold that against him too much. I think overall he played an amazing game. He did a lot of things that were inventive and new and creative, and I think it's going to be awesome to see him on Survivor 50 alongside Savannah, and it'll be very interesting to see how they play in that season. So looking forward to that. If you're enjoying the rankings so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more Survivor content. I upload every week. Now on to the next tier. We have A tier, great players. Everyone in this tier played well enough to matter, but not well enough to win. First up, we got Steven in 6th place. He was in a great position throughout the first 2 tribe swaps. He survived his first tribal despite being in a minority 3-1. He also created the bottoms up alliance with Jawan and Sage. He also won 2 individual immunity challenges, with one of his wins at the Final 7 being clutch, given he was the primary target at the time. Kristina also played an idol on him at the Final 8, which showcases his great social game. He also claimed in an interview with Entertainment Weekly that he would have won the game had he reached the end. And quite frankly, I believe he does if he sits next to the right people. His only drawback was his threat level being far too high, and he was marked for death basically after the Final 7. But I think he played a great game. I think his social game was amazing. It was one of the better social games of the entire cast. I think he was very well integrated throughout the entire game, and I think he was only really in danger Final 8 onward. I think besides that, he was pretty much good to go. So he played a great game. The next person going right beside him is Yellow Sophie, who placed in 7th. They were on the right side of the votes throughout the entire post-merge, besides their elimination. They won 2 individual immunity challenges, and they were responsible for the Jawan blindside. She flipped on her allies and was able to pick between Sage and Jawan for who went home, so she held the fate of both of their games in her hand at one point. However, she does have some drawbacks I have to mention. Her social game was lacking. She did not have a number 1 throughout the entire game. She was also in a poor position on Hina before the tribe swap, where she was considered to be the first one voted out had Hina gone to tribal. Her threat level was also too high at the end game. That was the main reason she was voted out at the Final 7. I think Yellow Sophie did play a good game overall. I think had she maintained her threat level a bit more and won a few more immunities, she probably can make it to the end and give a decent speech at the Final Tribal Council. I think she has a shot to win at the end if she makes it there, and which is why she's in this tier. Next up beside her is Blue Sophie, the other Sophie, or as some would call, Soph. She was the runner-up this season. She actually survived the most tribal councils out of everyone at 12th. This was in large part by the disaster of the Kelly tribe. She was also part of the Trans Ledgers Alliance. This alliance came back from a 3-7 disadvantage at the merge, and she had a great social game, probably the second best social game in the cast, with the first of course being Steven. Many people outside of her alliance were feeding her information for free. She also won the Final 4 individual immunity challenge, forcing Rizo and Savannah to make fire against each other, arguably the 2 biggest threats left in the game, and she also received 2 votes to win at the Final Tribal Council, becoming the runner-up. she received those votes from MC and Kristina. She does have drawbacks, of course, and the biggest drawback was her inability to portray Rizo or Savannah. This includes her decision not to take Rizo's idol with her knowledge is power advantage, which would have been a huge move for her to make and could have given her a lot of win equity. This could have won her the game arguably had she done this. The other drawback, of course, is wasting the knowledge is power advantage. She tried to take Steven's advantage but completely failed, and this could have been largely avoided by, like I said, taking Rizo's idol, or she could have even taken Kristina's idol as well. Because remember, because in a deleted scene, we saw that she knew about Kristina's idol, so because she knew about it, she definitely could have taken it. However, she chose not to, and she sealed her fate. Next tier is B tier, the underrated players. Everyone here influenced the outcome of the season, just not in their own favor. The first one I'll put in this tier is Sage. She's the second runner-up. She orchestrated Shannon's blindside, using ammunition from Shannon targeting Jawan to sway him to voting her out. She also convinced the Merge tribe that Shannon nuked her own game alongside Jawan and Steven. And no bad blood was created between this. They successfully convinced everyone that Shannon completely nuked her game, which is brilliant on their part. She also held a position of power early in the Merge with Jawan, deciding the fates of Nate, MC, and Alex, and only had one vote cast against her all season. She also received one vote at the Foul Tribal Council to win from Jawan. She does have drawbacks, of course, one of them being voting out Yellow Sophie. This gave the Trades Ledgers a chance to gain the majority heading into Final 6, and following that, her decision to vote out Steven, which gave them the majority, allowing them to decide her fate in the game. And to play devil's advocate, the only way Sage could have won the game is by sitting next to Kristina and Sophie B at the Final Tribal Council, in terms of whether you should play it safe and get to the end, or if you should try to go for broke and win the whole thing. Sage played it safe, and that got her to the end and got her a vote at the Foul Tribal Council, so who am I to say? But I think there's an argument to be made either way. The next person I'll put in this tier is Nate, who placed 11th. He was in a great position on original Uli, being part of the Majority Alliance. He also swapped onto New Hina, with the same Majority Alliance being seen as the Kingpin, and he decided the fates of both Matt and Jason. Some of his drawbacks do include being blindsided the first Merge vote, obviously, in large part by his inability to keep the loyalty of Sage and Jawan intact, Uli to be fair. A failure shared among the OG Uli. Everyone had a part to play on that. He was also notably vulnerable on the third swap tribe on New Uli, but to play devil's advocate, he couldn't control who he was swapped with. He did try to make inroads with them through a lie that he was working with Jason and New Hina, so you can't fault him for making the attempt. The next tier we have is C tier, below average players. Players in this tier stayed alive longer than their games did. First up here is MC, placing 10th. They were in a great position throughout the first two tribe swaps of the pre-merge, being part of the Majority Alliance on Old Hina and New Kelly. She also found an idol on Old Hina as well. It was often seen as the core of the Old Hina, being well insulated on all fronts. She was also part of the blind side of Nate, successfully pulling in Jawan and Sage for that vote. This flipped the game on its head and gave Old Hina a chance to make a run for it. Some of her drawbacks do include burning her idol at the Merge Tribal Council, which was the first Tribal Council they had attended all season. The idol play caused a few allies, notably Jawan, to lose trust in her for not telling him about her idol prior. At the final 10, she leaked info to Jawan about Yellow Sophie throwing a vote on him just in case Rizo played an idol. This caused Jawan to tell Sage about it, who told Yellow Sophie about it, and now MC had lost trust in Yellow Sophie. This chain of events, along with Savannah's arrival, led to MC's elimination. MC didn't lose because of one mistake, she lost because she created a chain reaction. I think MC played a great game in the pre-merge. I think she was very well insulated. I think she makes a deeper run had the merge tribe not been split into two groups of 5. I think that really screwed her over, but you know, it played out how it played out. Next, I'll put in Alex, who placed 9th. He survived the disaster Old Kelly tribe, including 3 tribal councils and the medevac of Jake. He also survived the 3rd tribal council, which was a 3-person tribal council, by leveraging and playing an idol he found. He integrated himself well into the new Kelly swap tribe, finding himself in the majority with Old Hina. He was also in a great position on the 3rd swap tribe, New Uli. He was also part of the Nate Moore blind side, flipping the game on its head. His only real drawback here was playing the middle and being caught. Rizo was the one to catch him and orchestrate his blind side because of it. I think Alex makes a deeper run had he been able to play the middle better, but because he was caught, he was thus voted out. But to be fair, playing the middle is a risky endeavor in and of itself, so you really either win big or flame out with that kind of gameplay. He ended up flaming out, but I can't blame him for trying. Next up, we got Jawan, who placed 8th. Jawan was someone I was rooting for throughout the season, so it's sad to place him so low, but I had to take my bias out of it. So with that being said, some of his highlights do include being part of the majority alliance to New Hina. He had a hand in the blindsides of Matt and Jason. Matt confided him with a plan to blindside Nate. He ended up leaking this plan to the Alliance, leading to Matt's demise, and during episode 5, he notably rigged a rock draw to ensure Jason did not go on a journey. This is ingenious on his part, quite frankly, and this sealed Jason's fate after their tribe lost immunity. He also held position of power early in the merge with Sage, deciding the fates of Nate, MC, and Alex. Some of his drawbacks do include being in a rocky position during Old Uli, and being on the bottom of the tribe with Sage. He was also in a rocky position on New Hina, despite being loyal to the majority, and Savannah considered blindsiding them during Jason's blindside. Shannon also planned on blindsiding him at one point before she was the one blindsided, and Yellow Sophie at one point planned on throwing a vote on him just in case Rizo played his idol. He also unsuccessfully attempted to eliminate Savannah at the final 8. This attempt led to his demise, although to be fair to him, he didn't know Yellow Sophie was going to flip, so can't fault him too much for that. At the very least, he was still trying to make a move. Next up, we got Kristina, who placed 5th. Kristina was in a great position throughout the pre-merge. She never went to Tribal Council. She was also part of the Nate blindside as well. Flipping the game on its head, she found an idol during the merge phase. It was known as the best firemaker at the final 5. Some of her drawbacks do include not showing relief to see Yellow Sophie survived after MC's elimination. This directly contributed to Yellow Sophie flipping at the final 8, and she misplayed their idol on Steven at the final 8. She also voted out Steven at the final 6, giving the Tres Leches Alliance the majority, allowing them to decide her fate in the final 5. This led directly to her demise and her 5th place placement. I think Kristina gave up a lot of control throughout the course of the game, and that's the reason she ranks this low. I think she didn't have any win equity during the end game, and because of that, I have to place her in this tier. Next up is Jake, who placed 16th. And if you want to see why Jake's medevac really mattered and how it would affect a Philippine-style cast, I've got a full tier list on it. You can click on the link in the top right corner to check it out. Some of his highlights include being in a great position on Old Kelly, being part of the majority alliance with Blue Sophie, Alex, and Jeremiah. He also had 2 number 1s in Blue Sophie and Alex. He didn't have any drawbacks, to be honest with you. He had a great social game, great physical game, so there's really no drawbacks to be had or to be said, but he didn't make it far enough, and because of that, I had to put him this low. I think if he's put on a different season, I think he might make it a lot farther. Next tier we have is F tier, disaster players. These players either flamed out fast or never had win equity to begin with. Starting out, we'll go with Jason, who placed 13th. He was part of the reason Old Hina dominated in the challenges. He also went 3 for 3 on the puzzles. His only drawback was his inability to integrate himself into the new Hina tribe post-swap. This was largely in part by his undying loyalty to Old Hina, and eventually led to his demise in episode 5. I think Jason makes it a lot farther if he's swapped onto a tribe with Old Hina. I think if he's given a more favorable swap tribe, he probably makes it farther. I think because of his unwillingness to work across tribal lines, I don't think he makes it very far in most scenarios. Next up is Jeremiah, who placed 15th. He was part of the majority alliance on Old Kelly. He survived the first 2 tribal councils and made a close ally on Sophie B. His only drawback was his inability to survive his 3rd 3-person tribal council alongside Sophie B and Alex. This was in large part by Alex having an idol. To play devil's advocate, had Alex not had his idol with him and Sophie B would most likely survive the vote. I say that because him and Sophie B had a closer relationship versus Alex, and I think they would have teamed up to vote out Alex had he not had an idol. Next up is Shannon, who placed 12th. She was part of the majority alliance on Old Uli and was in a great position on that tribe. However, that's her only real highlight. Mostly she just has drawbacks. Her spiritual and perceived two-faced personality clashed with Sage, and that created a one-sided rivalry. She was also notably quick to turn on her allies at any opportunity, notably on Sage on the new Kelly tribe and Jawan on the newer Kelly tribe. Her flipping mentality ended up causing her the game. Next up is Matt, who placed 14th. He was part of the majority alliance on Old Hina and was known for his outdoor skills, which included making fire, so he was very useful to the tribe. However, his drawback was his inability to integrate himself into the new Hina tribe. This was in large part because of his plan to blindside Nate, who he told Jawan about the plan, and Jawan ended up leaking it, which is why he ended up going home. To play devil's advocate, it was better for him to try to make a move versus just sitting on his hands, so I can't blame him for trying. Next up, we have Annie Davis, who placed 17th. There are no upsides to Annie's game, no positives. The only thing I have here in front of me are drawbacks. She was seen as commanding or bossy by her tribemates. She was on the bottom of the tribe alongside Nicole. She unsuccessfully campaigned against Blue Sophie for losing them the immunity challenge, and she was blindsided on episode 2. I think Annie came into the game thinking she was gonna rule the roost. She didn't rule anything. She was not the kingpin. She was on the bottom the entire time. There's a reason she was the second boot of the season, so she firmly deserves this spot on the tier list. Next up, we have Nicole, who placed 18th. I actually talked about Nicole in another video. I ranked every new era first boot in a separate video, so if you want to check that video out, you can click on the link in the top right corner. That was actually my most popular video, so might be worth checking out. But yeah, same thing for Nicole, only drawbacks. She was unable to integrate herself into the new Kelly tribe, and she was eliminated because of it. Two notable things you could point to was her poor social game and her poor challenge performance. I definitely recommend checking out that other video if you want to see me go more in depth about it. And that's all for today. If you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more Survivor content. Drop a comment telling me what twist, player, or season you want covered next. I'll see you next time on Joe Island.